In this lecture, we're going to be talking about visual fixation for your enhanced reading ability. We previously talked about some exercises that you can do for eye movement and for your optimum visual ability. But we want to also emphasize an important factor, which is visual fixation on clumps and thought units. So the concept itself basically states that visual fixation is related to a lot of different concepts, such as peripheral vision, your vision span, and other ideas previously discussed, such as your eye movement, glancing ability, and eye fixation speed. Now, while reading, our eyes would move from the left to the right or from the right to the left, depending on the language we're reading in. Fixation is when our vision is fixed on a word or group of words to ensure understanding before moving our fixation to the following word or group of words. You will not switch your eye fixation on another group of words or clump until you're done reading the clump, group, or unit of thought that you're currently reading. So by default, if we want to increase our speed reading ability, one thing that would help is increasing our eye fixation ability, meaning that the faster our eyes and fixation point moves from one clump to the other, the faster we'll be able to read. So of course, the wider our vision span is, the more effective and fast our visual fixation will be. With a wide visual span, our fixation can move from single words to group of words, increasing our speed reading ability. It is one thing to switch our eye fixation and movement from clumps to another, but first we need to make sure that our eye fixation is concentrated on the clumps themselves instead of single individual words. With a wide vision span, we'll be able to see the clump as a thought unit instead of fixating our eye vision on one single word. Some of the main problems that kind of put a limit to this visual fixation we have is our vocabulary limitation. Once we read a word that we're not familiar with, a word that we struggle to read, our visual fixation will go from a clump into one single word for us to understand it. And of course, something that correlates to it is our pronunciation issues. There might be some words that you actually know, but you won't be able to identify them immediately until you pronounce them, which will automatically start working with your inner vocalization system. And as we said, this is something that can slow down the speed reading process. So here's an interesting exercise you can try. Pick any text and read it. Make sure to time yourself and see how long it took you to read the text. Now for the next step, you will divide the text by putting separation lines between correlated group of words. So go through the text slowly and try to gather clumps together. Between each and every clump, each and every thought unit, you put a separation line in between. Now try reading the text again and see how much it took you. Keep in mind that while reading the second time, you need to focus and read clumps and thought units instead of focusing on individual words. Putting this line of separation is, of course, one of the main things that would help you the most. It is an exercise that can eventually help you unconsciously separate clumps by grouping words and forming thought units out of them. Now after that, go read the text again, see if there are any words that you don't currently know, any words that you have a hard time pronouncing, and either get familiar with them, work on the pronunciation until you get it right, figure out what the certain word means, or you can even replace them with familiar words just for your training purposes. And then try reading again. Now, even though the pronunciation system that can kind of block your speed reading ability might contradict what we talked about for the vocalization system, However, this exercise is meant to help you in a certain area. It is not something you should use while engaging in speed reading. This is an exercise that will basically help you to monitor your eye fixation from individual words to clumps and thought units.